Hi everyone, we are in week 5 and this video is just to help clarify the 2 assignments that are due this week. So we have assignment 5.1 and assignment 5.4, which are 2 writing assignments that are uploaded to the drop boxes this week. So for 5.1, you will be revising the submission you made in module 3, assignment 3.2. So really the first thing you want to do is, of course, to go to module 5 and to read over what exactly goes with the idea of revising. And then the next step is really to go back to the comments that I left for you in 3.2 and work on creating a more polished draft, elaborating on areas that may not have had enough details. If you did not meet those minimum paragraph requirements, so remember for each response, it should have been a full paragraph, which means a minimum of 5 sentences. So you may have been deducted because you didn't write enough. So I left some feedback on any areas that were where there were deductions made, and I gave you suggestions on how to elaborate. So for instance, if some people did not write enough when it came to responding to how they would use feedback and revision. So for revision, it's not just one strategy, right? So maybe you only wrote 2 sentences because you only chose one revision strategy. You said you'd like to print out your paper and go through and read it out loud. And reading out loud helps you miss any kind of grammatical errors that you may have written in your draft. That is a good step, but that's only 2 sentences. So go ahead and add another revision strategy like peer review. So peer review, whether if you like peer review, why do you like it? Have you used it for other papers? How did it benefit you? How is peer review different than instructor review? So that could be an elaboration on how you use a second revision strategy. Another way to revise is maybe you created several short paragraphs and you need to go back and you need to combine short paragraphs and add transitions and elaborate on some details that are vague. So maybe I left some suggestions on how to do that. So if you have any questions after you read my feedback on 3.2, feel free to email me. I'm always here to clarify, or if you change something and you want to know if you're on the right track, you can always send me a sample. But those are the comments that you want to use for this finalized writing draft, because it is just a revision from something that you've already done in module 3. So the writing plan rubric you can access right here, or you could also go back to learning modules from the course menu, and then there's a assignment rubric tab on the left. So if we click on the rubric for assignment 5.1, it walks you through the bullet points that should be answered. Each one of these should be a separate paragraph, and each paragraph needs to be a minimum of 5 sentences. Also, the guidelines for submission are located here at the top, where the document must be 1 to 2 pages in length, but it is double spaced and it's 12-point times New Roman 1-inch margins. I left an announcement on how to use Word document and change the spacing and the margins if anyone has questions about that. Check out the announcement, and then you can always email me if you're having problems. So 5.1 is a subjective assignment because you're writing in first person. You're writing about who your audience is for the upcoming analysis essay, what your goal is with writing this essay, how you will use revision and feedback, and also where evidence will be taken from. So say I'm planning on writing my analysis on Sedaris, and I want to use pieces of evidence from several parts of his text for one to show complete understanding of the text. So, for example, if I only use quotations from the first couple paragraphs, then that's not a full understanding of Siddharth's text. So I may talk about using quotations from various parts of his text to illustrate how the author's growth happened from the beginning of the story to the end. So obviously at the beginning of the story, it's kind of bleak. We almost think, oh, what's this guy getting himself into? And by the end, we realize that the author is telling this story because it was a difficult time for him, but he didn't give up. And in the end, he was able to understand and achieve the success and achieve his goal of learning the French language, even though kind of the odds were against him. So I would talk about how I will be incorporating evidence. I'm not going to go into detail about all the evidence. That's for the analysis. That's for assignment 5.4. So for this portion, it's just really talking about where I will put evidence in my analysis and how I will use evidence from the story. So this is just a revision of something you've already done. So you really need to go back to 3.2 and read my feedback, because that's going to be the easiest way to work on revising. Now for 5.4, this is the actual analysis draft. So whereas 5.1 is a subjective essay where you can write in first person because it's about how you are planning to analyze the text, 5.4 is actually the analysis. So there's no more first person allowed. The analysis needs to be objective. It needs to be written focusing on the text. And instead of saying, I will analyze Siddharth's text, I can just say, Siddharth's text is about blah, blah, blah. So instead of having a first person, just take out a first person point of view and remain objective and focus more on the text, how the author writes, how they use tone, style, and word choice to connect with readers. So this may, you may need to go back to the beginning of the course and look at the modules that discussed tone, word choice, and style in order to, have a refresher about how we analyze. So for this draft, and remember it's just a draft, so it's okay to have mistakes and to still be, not 100% confident because it's just a draft. The introduction for your draft needs to present the work and end with the thesis statement. So once again, the thesis statement at this point is just a working thesis statement. We're going to practice and revise the thesis in next week. So you don't have to worry about this being perfect, but you do need to make a claim. Something about how the author uses these different rhetorical choices like tone, word choice, and style to connect with his audience. So be specific in what type of tone the author uses and how that connects with the audience based on their purpose. So if Siddharth uses a sarcastic tone, maybe he does this because readers want to laugh through the difficult times. And so this is an easy way for him to connect with his readers. Now, when we get into the body paragraphs, you want to write multiple paragraphs, and each paragraph should point out supporting details and analyze the details. So if I'm going to stick with focusing on the author's sarcastic tone, my first paragraph, I can discuss how the author includes dialogue between the teacher and classmates. Then I can insert a quotation to illustrate what I mean. And then I can follow up with an analysis of some of the word choice that the author uses and how that word choice then creates a certain tone, creates that sarcastic tone. When we get down to the conclusion of the draft, you will re-summarize the claim and the main points, and then you will articulate any kind of additional insights about the claim. So remember that the conclusion, it's really best if you can create 2 different paragraphs, each 5 sentences, review the claim, summarize each key point, and then move into insights about the claim. Keep an objective point of view, so don't use first person. This may be difficult for some of you, and if you are unable to express the analysis in an objective way, that's something that I can always, submit the draft, and that's something that I can always help you revise for their final version. But remember that that's one of the main differences between 5.4 and 5.1 is that 5.1 is a subjective kind of reflection on how you will approach this analysis, and 5.4 is the objective analysis itself. So if we look at the two rubrics, we can see that they're asking you to do different things. The 5.1 assignment is asking you to identify your audience, establish your goal with writing an analysis, talk about your revision strategies and how you will use feedback. 5.4 is not asking you any of those things. 5.4 is asking you to analyze the text, focus on key elements like tone, word choice, and style, and then end with any kind of insights that were gathered from reading this text. You will also want to, format your essay at least with these double spacing. We're not going to worry about the MLA or APA format for this draft until the final version. But with that said, you definitely, since we've already been introduced to APA and MLA in Module 4, it would be a great idea just to set up your paper the correct way. So then that way I can give you very specific feedback on if you're using APA and you don't have a cover page. If you're using MLA and you're missing a works cited. So set up your paper in either APA or MLA. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's a draft, so you'll have time to even fix your formatting before, the final draft. But please make sure any kind of exact wording quotations that you use, they must be enclosed in quotation marks and there must be in-text citations. That's something we learned last week in week 4. Once again, the attempt is really what matters. So as long as you're attempting to cite things, you will not be deducted for incorrect citing. It's if you have no citations, no format, and lots of grammatical errors, that's where you're going to start seeing deductions. If you have any further questions while you're working on these assignments, please feel free to email me. I'm always here to answer questions, and you can always ask me questions about the 3.2 assignment as well, since that's what you will be using to revise this 5.1 for this week. And I hope you guys are all having a wonderful week. You all are working really hard. I appreciate it. I know that online classes can be difficult. So I'm here if you have any questions. Thanks.